What makes a handmade instrument great sounding? Stay tuned and I tell you today. Hello, back again. This is Edgar from Cremona, Italy, and we build instruments, mostly violins. And now I just said, hey, stop. I collected all the pieces I could find. This is everything we're at the moment working on, okay? And when people come to my workshop and I tell them that every single instrument is made by hand and that makes the difference, the more I talk, the more they listen to me, and a few of them just think this man must be completely crazy. It doesn't make sense nowadays to stand there, to carve from the outside, to cut out by hand, to insert the linings, and then flip it over and then carve inside by hand. And then they talk about that it's important to touch what they're making in order to then to decide. And then later on they ask what kind of thicknesses you are doing. And the thickness on a piece of like this is something where you can measure here, okay? And it's all a little bit a concept here in the middle, very thick. And then an upper and lower area on the back side of the violin, thin and here thick, like a loudspeaker, while on the top we make it Italian style, almost everything the same thickness. Said that, it seems like you make your instrument and then the thickness are always the same and that's it, right? So what do you have to make it? All this sweating, hard work to do it all by your hand? And then it takes a lifetime to be able to decide what you're doing. And what are you deciding? You know, I explain you. Now, when we have these pieces, usually they're made out of a big piece of wood. And we all carve it out. It's not bent or anything. We have to carve it. Here you can see all the traces of these planes, yeah? And then while you make... it sounds already. And some pieces, while you're working, are kind of singing, and others don't. And that makes the difference. There are many things which make a difference. One is certainly the material. Getting the best material possible is very easy, you would say. But still here I'm, let's say, making a testore. This piece of wood, I remember that I bought it when I was in last class of violin making school in Cremona. So we're talking about 1989. I would say this guy telling story. At the time I bought it, I thought I will make within 1 or 2 years an instrument out of it. And years went by, and every time I looked at it, I just thought, yeah, it's nicely framed, but the ears are so large. Let's take another one. And years go by, and here it is now, and it's becoming a testore. The wood itself, I thought it's much more flexible, while from all the pieces, I believe it's even the best one. It's extremely strong, extremely compact. And when you work on it, it's really... I wouldn't have thought that it is working like this. And while I'm working, I really think this will be a great testore, you know? Let's see who will be the owner of this one. Min was a little bit complaining with her high-fat guarnieri that she said, yeah, the top didn't vibrate that much, but actually I thought it was a good top. The only thing is that she left it very thick, almost 3 millimeters, the whole top, because by touching it, it seems so light. So you would not imagine that this piece here, light as it is already 3 millimeters, just perfect 3 millimeters, you know? So at the very end, you would say there is a clear line of the weight and the thickness, but isn't that way, okay? This is just one thing, and then everything is correct and everything is perfect, and then sometimes it's not how you expect it. And other times you have it like these ole bowls here. I think they look typical like an ole bowl, very large here, the grain, and so narrow in the middle, typical of a guarnieri. Or even this one is almost everything large. and they have already a crunch in their sound. At the time you have finished the outside of an instrument, you acquired already a certain responding of that material while you were working. It sounds like super scientific, and people are doing great things to make it even more scientific, and then they make it even nicer as it is. It's just, we just do it, you know? And human being, while you work, a human being acquires all this information and stores it. Then you flip it over and you have to carve the inside. At that point, first we make it rough, about, let's say, 5 millimeters on the top, and on the back we make it, let's say, 6, 5, 4, something like this. We rough it out, and then we drill the first thicknesses. These thicknesses have a certain concept, how I explained before, with a thicker heart in the middle and thinner in the upper and the lower area on the back side, and almost equal thickness on the top. When I start drilling the first holes to know how deep I can go, I already decide a little bit what kind of thickness do I use. And just to give you a little bit of idea of what we're talking about, the difference between these 4 pieces is that this one, the high frets from Min, is 3 millimeter and is very light. And if you look at it, you wouldn't say that it's a very light bit of wood. And then here on these 3 pieces, there is not a single piece the same than the other one. And I made them, I drilled one with 2.7, one with 2.8, and another one with 2.9 millimeters, because just of what I did it myself, I worked myself on the outside, everything. So that's why I came to the conclusion this could be a good starting point. So then I go down towards the thicknesses. I still have some tiny spots. That's why I again have my glasses here. And then while I still can see a few of my spots a little bit around, and you see even on the Stradivari violins, these spots on old instruments, especially here at the very end, and that's why I also do it the same way. I don't go right down to that point. I just go slowly and I touch myself like walking in the dark, and I try to capture the idle measurement. And on one side, it's an aim of everybody to keep as much material as possible on one side, and on the other side it must be thin enough that it is willing to vibrate by anything which comes and brings this piece into vibration. Every single touch is already vibrating, and I think you can even hear it, that it is already vibrating, yeah? And that's actually the key point. Then there are lots of people who are now tuning them, and I just go and tell you this because so that you don't leave all which tone I'm tuning. Every piece is a little bit different, and there is no conclusion at all which tone would be now the best. If you could choose out of a list of tones which pitch is now the best for the top, and once you arrived exactly at the right pitch, and then you take it for the back, the other one which fits very well, and there is scientific works about the whole thing. Once you made the instrument with everything perfect and you put it together, sometimes it happens that it's not this exaggerating great sounding than you expected, yeah? And then you just get a little bit, and the entire message of my over 40 years of violin making is actually leave science a little bit on the side and start listening a little bit more to yourself and trust on your emotions and feelings. And you don't have to make it now more interesting than it actually is already. It's already nice that we make here instruments. The human desire to make something better than last time is within everybody. And if you have a certain mindset to make things good, better, excellent, automatically it will go into that direction. And that's what it's all about. And that's what I'm doing for already over 40 years. And I really enjoy it. And it's nice that after so many years, you can observe yourself that you are able just to talk with the musician. They tell you what they're looking for and you're able to put it into reality. And this is something unique, and there are lots of machinery. I talked even to Jaan Kirk with his CNC and all these things, and there are a lot of interesting people out there working. All of this is contributing that the quality is getting better, but there is no shortcut for a good violin maker who dedicates his precious time to build his instrument with the desire of making excellent sounding instruments. And that's what it's all about. If you have any questions, let me know. If you are already working yourself or you're already a student of my Violin Making Academy, then you certainly know that one tool is for sure important. This is the caliper to measure the thickness. And this here is the Vubi. It's a caliper and you can regulate the distance. Now you would say, wow, this is high tech. It is made with high tech, I think. I guess it's made with a CNC router in aluminum out of one block and everything. It's nicely made, sounds also nice. You wouldn't believe, but even Stradivari had something like this. He just didn't have here this caliper which puts it into numbers. He had everything made out of wood, and if you're in the Stradivari museum you can see it, it's made out of wood. And then he had this top and backs, and then he hammered a nail into the top and the back. I have it online on my web page because everything I like I have on my web page. I hope you enjoyed this video. See you next time. Ciao, ciao.